Have you been entertained? I ask you again, have you been entertained? This is WION World of Cricket. I'm Digvijay Singh. With me, 1996 World Cup winning coach Whatmore. And did you see this coming? England, the world champions, have lost the opening game of this 2023 Cricket World Cup. But it's the way they've lost it. They've been hammered by 9 wickets by New Zealand, who've chased down a 280-plus target in 36.2 overs. Yes, let me just reiterate that to you. New Zealand have chased 283 in 36.2 overs. Have New Zealand have punctured England's aura?
Certainly. I think on that performance, it was an incredible and truly magnificent effort. You know, we've seen for the first time a finisher batting at number 1 and a finisher batting at number 3, which is really, you know, well, we laugh about it, but it was a truly magnificent effort. And I'm trying to think of a false shot. I don't think I can remember anyone playing and missing or playing a really bad shot. You know, it was just a fantastic effort.
Yes, let's just reflect on the magnitude of this New Zealand win. You know, this team has done great things in the past. You always say that the Kiwi boys are always together. Yeah. They play as a team. But they're playing this match with what? 12 fit players? Each ODI is the only fit player who's sitting, who can probably come out and field in case something goes wrong. Because Kane Williamson was not risked. Tim Southee was not fit. And then Lockie Ferguson is also injured. So in a squad of 15, these are 12 men, and they've gone and done a demolition job on the world champions.
Things happen in strange ways, don't they? Particularly when you don't expect it to happen. With all those players unavailable, and you know those guys would have been in the 11, and so it opens up opportunities. And I believe Ravindra may not have played in the 11.
Yeah, he only came in because of the player sitting out.
Yeah, so, you know, it's strange how things happen, and you never know when opportunity strikes. And certainly we've seen another example, you know, when you least expect it, it happens. So you just got to be ready, and he was ready.
Yeah, Rachin Ravindra, named after Rahul Dravid and Sachin Tendulkar, both those legends will be so just proud to have their names associated with this boy just because of the way he came and turned the game around.
Surely, and you know, for somebody so young, he's the youngest centurion to have got 100. And
after Virat, he's the youngest Kiwi centurion.
Kiwi centurion, that's right, and the first of the pair. Like these two getting hundreds are the first time it's happened in World Cup cricket.
Yep, just what a partnership! 280, 3 to get 10. Was when the first wicket fell. You said, hang on, England seemed to have got a chance here. And it was Ravindra who started off, and then Conway joined the party. Were England guilty of really bowling bad balls? Were England just giving away too many boundary balls? They could never build the pressure.
Well, no, I think there was a combination of both. You know, when you bowl really well, with that skill level, it's difficult for the batsmen to score freely in the way they did. So there was a combination of both. They struck it really well, but also they capitalised on ordinary balls that were delivered in the wrong spot. And Wood, who is really quick, he didn't hit his straps fully, but still fast enough, but his pace was used to advantage to knock the ball into the boundary. And they completely obliterated everybody.
I was listening to Josh Butler after the game, and he said 330 odd was what he thought was a decent score. Yeah. By the looks of it, the way these guys were going, 400 would have been a decent score.
Well, when it gets down to the last 50 and you know you've got 9 wickets left, then you just throw the bat. And it came off today.
I think they scored at more than 11 and over in the last 6.2 overs.
That's right. Because of the run rate situation, you just never know when that comes into play. I know it's very early in the tournament, but to get a healthy run rate early on, because you can, if it drops, it'll drop a little bit if you keep playing well. So I think that was a good thing.
Okay, Ravindra sort of shown his promise in that warm-up game against Pakistan, when they chose chased down 340 odd with
345,
46 balls or more left, and we thought, okay, that's a freak result. That wasn't a freak result. This is a performance Brendan McCullum will be proud of, because the last time they scored so many runs in the power play was his last game back in 2016.
Yeah, well, this is when it counts too. It's okay to say, oh, it's warm-up game, and that, you know, and that's good to score runs, give your confidence level, get your levels up, and you know, but to do it in a World Cup match in the first ever for him, it's just a wonderful.
It's also a maiden World Cup match for Devon Conway.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Yeah.
It was,
well, they both just starred in this game, and they've done really well. So I'm expecting, you know, big things for the rest of the tournament for this guy.
Okay, just wonder, why was the pitch so different to bat on? England was struggling, and the previous show we were on, you were talking about how the ball at times was gripping or it wasn't coming on.
Yeah.
Are we seeing a template for this World Cup already in the first game, especially in games sort of north of India and perhaps in the upper part of India, even down to sort of Kolkata, Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai? That is it becoming easier to bat when in the second innings, or should we just give credit to the way these two played?
No, I think again a bit of both. What I saw today was the bowling effort and the wicket behaviour in the first half was not at all that easy. If you had to play straight, you couldn't play across the line. It was stopping a little bit of turn, a little bit abrasive. So 283 was okay, given that they lost too many wickets. England lost too many wickets preceding, you know, the 40th over. If they hadn't have lost those wickets, Josh Butler's comments would have been pretty right, 330 to 350, and that would have been a better target for New Zealand, because the pitch did ease up a little bit and it became a little more easier for the batsman in terms of the ball coming on. So, you know, and it may be a trend, you just never know, you know. It appears as though win the toss, bowl in the first half, spinners can hold the ball, it may stop a little bit and turn, and then the second half under lights, it just may come on a little bit without much deviation.
What could England have done differently batting first? Because they were inserted in, they are the champions. Did they play the occasion and not the ball on merit? Because just a few numbers I got down, they had 125 dot balls in that innings. That's what 20 overs, and they had 21 fours and 6 sixes. That's just 27 boundaries. In comparison,
30.
New Zealand had 30 boundaries and 8 sixes, and still 14 overs to go.
That's right. Look, batting second was easier. I think we'll all agree with that. But what would England do differently? Certainly not gift a couple of those wickets, because they're good players. If they hadn't gifted those wickets, then surely, you know, come, you know, the last 10 overs, they could have easily scored 100, easily. And that would have bumped up their total to, you know, well in excess of 300. And then you finish that innings on a high, instead of finishing on a bit of a, you know, you limp through it a little bit and you finish on a low. Yeah, and New Zealand, the opposition, they've come off the ground on a high. So, you know...
But Dad, just from a coaching perspective, we hear a lot about this. But does it actually matter that much that you've come off the ground in the first innings on a high and you just walk in and you try to own that turf, a bit like, you know, that swagger which Viv Richards had? Does that happen on a daily basis when you're playing a game like this, or some players sort of feel it more?
No, I think, you know, you've got to be realistic. Players understand what the real truth of the matter is. And if they have done well, that a fielding team does well, and they've restricted a side to 280, they know, and the batting side knows. So, you know, they walk off, the team that's restricted it, they walk off pretty high, and the confidence is up. The team who have not got as many runs as they should, they know that. So they'll also be thinking, hells, I just got to, you know, come back and make up for it and win the game. But the conditions change a little bit and it becomes a little easier for batting. So the harder you try, more it works against you. And we saw evidence of this. In the last 50 runs, don't pay too much attention to it because 9 wickets left. They had to go for it, and it became an absolute belting in the end. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. Keep your comments coming in. I've already got them here. All your questions to Dav Whatmore. We're calling this No More with Whatmore. But I really want to get him with a bat to show why they were being able to sort of hit through the line. But first, let's take a couple of interesting comments. No more with Whatmore. Joginder has a comment. He said, this match is a wake-up call for England. How are they going to bounce back from this loss?
Well, I think they're going to have to review nicely. I think the main reason for all this is their batting. If they can sort that out a little bit, then I think most of the things fall into place. One game doesn't really define you. They are a good team, and I think the review process, I think they need to look in the mirror and be honest, and look at the attributes. Don't get emotional. Look at the attributes, fix it.
And don't count England out, because remember what happened in the Ashes? They lost the first 2 and they were the best team in the last 3 Test matches. Yeah. I'm just looking at England's next fixtures, and that's important.
All right, who is it?
They've got Bangladesh and then Afghanistan.
Well,
it's actually a good thing for them after this loss. Yeah. If you were, say, playing Australia or India, then you would also, that self-belief, you would start questioning at some phase.
Well,
but these games, they're going to walk in and think, you know what, even if we play like this, we'll somehow manage to pull it off.
Well, if you're Bangladesh, you'll be thinking, oh, gee, they're going to come hard because they got beaten so badly in the first game. So, they'd have to prepare slightly differently as well. But it's not a bad result to play those 2 teams after a drubbing today.
OK, let's get a bat in. Can you give me a bat? You need to pass that on to me. Yeah. So, we've got a bat here. OK, right. So I know you're right-handed, but just tell us, what was it in the way Conway was playing initially? First, let's talk about Ravindra, and then we'll talk about Conway. And why were they able to sort of get those big hits? Were they just watching the ball better, or was it simply the England bowlers bowling into their zones?
No, the main point is when the ball arrives at you and it bounces on the surface and there's not much deviation, and the speed of it is trusting, is the same. So therefore you have confidence to hit through the line. And when you can play through the line with confidence, then it's a matter of timing. And these guys timed it beautifully, and then confidence grows, and it just has a knock-on effect. It sort of gets bigger. Your confidence grows as you go along. And they seem to really enjoy having a partnership together, an understanding with each other. And the key is understanding and being confident with the pace of the ball and the consistency of bounce. You trust it, then you can hit through the line of it. And anything wide too was just dealt with, wasn't it? Anything full, bang.
And they were also trying to sweep the bowlers off their lengths. Lots of reverse hits, lots of paddle shots. Yeah. Basically everything came off for them. But what you're saying is they made the bowlers bowl to them.
Well, that's right. And also...
And was that because the ball didn't swing much at the start, it didn't spin much? I saw at the end sort of Moeen Ali with the umpire, with the towel, sort of trying to get the ball dry. Then you can't grip it as well, right?
And you saw also they were cutting the ball off the stumps. Yeah. So the spinners were accurate, but because they trusted it, the bounce and the speed of the ball off the stumps, beautifully played. That was just a wonderful exhibition of batsmanship. It wasn't brute sort of slogging. The odd slog was beautiful, to hit for 6, but
even when they were slogging, it was in the slot.
Cricket shots.
That was the shot to play. And at the beginning, I mean, Ravindra and Conway had some lovely shots in that first 10 overs. Some of those straight drives were exquisite.
The decision-making was perfect, was spot on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get back, and I'll get this back.
You want that? Yeah.
I'll get that back. Hope you like that. You can disagree with Dav Whatmore. Write into us on WION World of Cricket. Use the hashtag AskDav or hashtag WION Cricket. Let's get in some more of our fans, our viewers all over the world. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. Lucas has an interesting point. Well
Lucas.
spotted, Lucas. Lucas says, New Zealand have avenged their loss against England in 2019. I just have one slight clarification, Lucas. They didn't actually lose that final. England won the World Cup on a technicality. The match was tied. The Super Over was tied. But sort of brownie points at the start?
Pretty much so. And
but with the manner of the win.
Surely. Oh,
if they'd won with, say, 3 balls remaining or 5 wickets remaining, no. The emphatic nature of this win, suddenly that belief is surging in the Kiwis. And I remember yesterday when we were doing our show on the broadcast, you initially said, I didn't have them, but I think New Zealand are going to sneak into that 4th semi-final spot. Right now, I don't think they'll sneak in, right? No. I think they're charging it down.
It's early days still.
Okay.
Please just understand, it's early days still, but we're all very happy for them. We're all pleased to see them win in such an emphatic way. It opens up this tournament very early. I know it's early, but it just opens it up because most people would have thought England, surely will play off in the semi-finals, but now there's a little doubt. But they have to come back, and it's early days. We don't know yet.
And they've got 2 comparatively easy games coming up. Let's keep these questions coming. Gopal Ramanathan says, it proves that the Kiwis truly won the last ODI championship. They were cheated last time. Arbaz says, England's game is over before the start. Well, it's early days. I think that's a bit harsh. Yeah. Anyway, Arbaz, let's see. Saurav has a comment. He says, New Zealand has surprised England. And special knocks by Ravindra and Conway.
Surely, nobody disagrees with that one.
Absolutely special. Absolutely special. There's some bit of cricketing trivia coming our way.
Right.
More from your time than mine.
Right.
Abdullah says, the 1992 World Cup started with New Zealand beating the defending champions Australia. 2023 started with New Zealand beating defending champions England. Time to start a 1992 trend. But I think they also had someone called Inzamam who came and spoiled their party. Okay.
Good point.
Yeah. Nagaraju says, what a promising player this Rachin Ravindra is. Great to know he's from Karnataka, Indian origin. Okay. Mahat says, complete dominance. New Zealand have smashed England. Is that the right word? Smashed or obliterated is the right word?
Whichever word you choose, they absolutely...
Smoked it.
Smoked it. That's right.
Shantanu from India says, looked better for batting in the second innings and New Zealand batted supremely. But let's be honest, England's bowling was the key issue going into this World Cup. This has only added to their concerns. That's an important point. No job for Archer.
Well, right. That's right. They obviously would have.
So now, are we seeing some chinks in this English armour? And remember, this is an ageing team as well. Do they have bowlers to run through the innings? You would think that England would smash the bowling out of sight, and then they would get so many runs that their bowlers would somehow get up and defend it.
Well, I'm a little guarded against, reacting extreme, in an extreme way. I keep coming back to this as the first game. Please give them a bit of time. These guys are trying hard. They're very good players, except today they got absolutely obliterated because they lost it with 13 plus overs left. And that is a drubbing in anyone's language. But, it's okay to acknowledge all that, but also please look down the track. There is still a lot of cricket left to be played. There's another 8 big games for England and New Zealand.
40 plus days before we get to the semis.
Anything can happen.
Okay. Anurag asked, does Rachin literally mean Rahul and Sachin? In fact, I heard it on the commentary, it does. And those 2 gentlemen, one of them probably watching on TV, the other one was at the ground, Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, if I was Sachin Tendulkar, I'd be wanting to go and shake this young man's hand. And the young man would probably fall at his feet.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
But, the great Sachin would have loved this because this is the Sachin your teams played against, the one who used to completely dominate. In fact, Delhi, the 1996 World Cup, which you all won.
Yep.
Yes, that game Sri Lanka chased down a big score, but Tendulkar got a big 100.
He batted beautifully, I remember. Yep. Couldn't stop him. So, why not? I mean, we all appreciate good efforts and good knocks, regardless of where you come. And I was in awe watching this kid bat and watching Conway as well.
Okay, Asmar Hassan has a comment. It's not exactly the most complimentary, he says. He's watching from Peshawar. Pathetic turnout at the stadium. I expected better opening to the tournament. Well, tickets are there. We saw people come in towards the second half when it was less hot. It is quite hot, even though we're in October. You can feel the chill in Delhi if you get up in the morning. I don't think you wake up that early, though.
Well, no, I wake up and look through the window.
You see, when I get home at night, 10:30, 11, and it's a bit chilly.
Normally I'm up out of bed at 6, 5:30, 6, but when you work us so hard that I don't get to sleep till 11:30, 12, so I sleep in a bit.
Okay, let's look at something else. Again, some comments which are coming. The teams where in the last 4 World Cups, the team of which a batter has scored the first 100 has gone on and won the World Cup.
Oh.
So they're saying...
Is that true?
2007, Ponting 113 against Scotland. Sehwag 175 Bangladesh 2011. Finch 135 versus England 2015. And Root 107 against Pakistan 2019.
So that...
Do stats matter in cricket? Are cricketers and coaches like you superstitious?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, it has a funny way of being true, I have to say, sometimes.
Sometimes.
But this could be a good omen. I mean, if New Zealand win the World Cup, whoa.
That's 5.
Yeah.
It's happened in 5 consecutive World Cup. Just talking about Conway.
It's a good comment.
We've spoken a lot about Rachin and Ravindra. But let's talk about Devon Conway. Because it's his 4th one-day 100 this year. It's his 4th one-day 100. And he had a decent turnout in the IPL as well. And is that a factor? All these batters know these conditions very well. All the bowlers know the conditions very well. Okay, let's leave Pakistan out of it. But the top players across the world are playing the IPL.
It can't hurt, Diggy.
But does that negate the sort of home factor?
Well, it can do, yeah. But, I mean, there'll always be a home ground advantage because the boys play more. But, it's good to know that you turn up at a ground. You've
and
played
it's a familiar
on that ground.
Yeah,
you played there before. You've done well on it before. And you don't have to worry about, the dimensions and the look of it and look and feel and, lots of little things that doesn't preoccupy your mind. You just settle into that dressing room, know your pre-match, and away you go. So that part of the thing you don't have to worry about.
Okay. Let's talk about England. Could there be any positives apart from the fact that Joe Root has sort of got back into runs? We saw it on the earlier show that since the 2019 World Cup, he hadn't been scoring runs, but 400 odd runs. And for a batter of that class, clearly not decent numbers.
Yeah. He'll do well this year.
On these wickets, if it's struggling to sort of... He plays spin very well as well, right? Great hands.
Yep, no problem.
So you think this is... England may have to redraw their strategy when Butler, Matthew Mott sit and say, OK, we're going to build around Joe?
I think you need to have a close look. But if you're batting first in this tournament, I think it's very important you maximise. You get the absolute most you can possibly muster up. 280 wasn't enough for that lineup that we saw. And we also saw too many wickets falling at regular intervals. Every time they looked like they were ready to go, bang, they'd get out. So I think the positive for this one...
But should a coach like you be showing them those replays and circling the moment in that match? Because, OK, you had Malan falling early. Then there's sort of a bit of a partnership. Then wickets fall in a heap. Harry Brook comes in. He's coming in with his place not secure. He's coming in because Ben Stokes is not playing. And then he plays tries to... I mean, you've scored what? 10, 15 already in that over.
14.
14. Yeah. Back off, just get a single, get to the other end.
What about Bairstow? Hitting it straight down long off.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing doesn't... It's not time to give him a kick up the backside yet. But I think...
No, but how do you contrast this with their philosophy? Because this is exactly what won them the World Cup.
No, but conditions as well, right? You just got to apply yourself appropriate to what the conditions are. And these conditions would still be very good for batting if you do the hard yards early, and that wasn't done. And it's the language, it's the way you communicate in team meetings when you're reviewing. You don't want to take the confidence away from them, but at the same time, we need to understand what we did wrong, buy into it, and this is how we're going to get it better next time. And away you go. They're good enough to do it. So it's the language you use, the words you choose, and at the end of it, they have to walk out feeling good, right? You know, now we know we're going to go and do it slightly differently, and they feel better about themselves, and it's past. You don't sweep it under the carpet, you have to confront it.
Okay. The good news also for them is Ben Stokes is available at some point in time. we were running a poll on our social media handles, and is England's World Cup title defence in danger? 89% of you think yes. Now, the reason we have Dav Whatmore here with us, and all this is part of No More with Whatmore. I want to know more. Okay, you're coach of England. You've been called in from the WION studios to Ahmedabad, and you're being asked to give them a pep talk. How do you make them forget this hammering? It's easier said than done. It's going to be at the back of their minds. So as a coach, if you could share that perspective with us, how do you recover from this shellacking?
Well, I think the objective is to have them, as I said before, walk out of that room feeling better about themselves. And I think one performance doesn't define you. So I think that point has to come across. They also need to know, it just seems like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but they need to know why this happened and how that happened, and more importantly, what you need to do to stop it happening again. And it comes back down to, if you get a start, man, back to the conditions. We have enough firepower to accelerate hugely, really, really quickly. You know, more than 100 runs in the last 10 overs. So we have to do the hard yards, understand your responsibility, understand what role you play. I know they're aggressive. I know that they want to be, and they'll score 300 on the flat pitches. When it comes to these sort of tracks, you have to, be a little bit more cautious, because later on you can go for it. And that's the difference, I think.
Okay, so you're saying it's too early to write England off, but suppose these are the conditions we get through this World Cup, okay? The cricket season hasn't started that much. Would you still want to relook your 4 teams to get to the semi-finals at this early stage, if, on the basis of what we are seeing, if the pitches are this way?
No, not really. I would like to change it if these teams are not prepared to understand the conditions and then make the odd change, a little change.
You know what this helps? This helps Pakistan. They love conditions like this, because they're accumulators, right? I mean, that's what that top order does, first 30 overs, and then go for it. This helps teams like Pakistan, who perhaps in a hitting contest won't be able to sort of match up to, say, an England or what we're seeing right now from Ravindra and Conway. But this kind of pitches...
Let's see. Let's see. But I think whoever bats first, surely, must understand batting second becomes a little easier if what we're seeing is correct, is consistent. If that's the case, then, OK, boys, we're going to toss the coin. If you lose the toss and you're batting, this is what we must do to ensure that we get 300 plus. Put the pressure back on the team chasing. So, that's what I think it should be drummed into everybody.
It's interesting. I think that's the reason you have a multi-city World Cup. Conditions not the same everywhere. Probably when you go up to Dharamshala, different. When you go down to Chennai, it's absolutely flat deck.
So there's a requirement to read the pitch as well, and also above.
Okay, but coaches around this World Cup who are watching, okay, Pakistan are playing tomorrow. We don't know how the Hyderabad pitch is, but what is the message they're now going to tell their teams when they're going out for their first games? Because till you play your first game, you're not sure of how things are going to pan out. So what's the message going to be? Guys, let's look at 15 overs, let's get to 80, and then take it from there. Is that an advice you would give?
Well, I always let the players know, well, this is what we'd like to do, this is sort of the target we should get, but you won't know until you start playing on it. You will not know. So we're all very keen. The ones who are playing on that pitch, after a short period of time, it would be nice if they just send a message back to the dressing room what they think would be a pass score.
But do teams do that a lot? Do you reassess, say, after 10, at the drinks break, at 15?
We tend to get that from a more senior batsman around. Junior ones may not be confident to send a message. We think, 280 is enough. We've got to get 300. This pitch is good. But you don't know until you start playing on it. And then you give yourself a little bit of time to understand what the conditions are, and then, even the guys in the dressing room will get an idea. We need this many.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you talk about the World Cup getting off to a flying start, at the end of the day, this was a one-sided contest. I just think the fact that England have got hammered like this is what's made it pretty exciting. Is that sort of give you an inclination, or are we going to have some fun this World Cup?
Well, I think it was a surprise, I think.
Let me rephrase. Do you think that the top 6 teams are so close that you will get one day one team winning, the other day the other team winning, and it's going to come down to how they play that moment, that session,
and how they handle the conditions.
Spend.
Yeah, every chance that'll happen. Every chance, because teams are closing the gap with each other, and I don't think, apart from maybe the odd team in this tournament, you drop your guard, you're going to get hit. So you can't afford to take any team lightly. Complacency is not there, shouldn't be there. So if there is an odd time where you drop your guard, you just might, will definitely shift momentum away from you, and then, it's all in the balance then.
Okay. What happens is when you see 2 batters getting hundreds and the way they got the hundreds, I mean, Conway gets to 150, Ravindra 123. We sort of lose sight of, at times, get swayed by that. We lose sight of what happened in the first innings. Big pat on the back from the coach and Kane Williamson to Tom Latham, because I thought with the resources that he had, he proved to be pretty astute.
Surely, yeah. I personally, as coach, I try to avoid extremes, When we do badly, I try to avoid, hammering the players. When they do really well, I try and keep a lead on it as well. I try and be as consistent as possible. But, internally, inside, I'm really happy and smiling when I get back to the hotel room, shut the door. Man, I can, let it all out. But in front of others, I try and keep a very even temperament.
But are you impressed with the way he handled his team, especially the limited resources that he had?
Oh, surely. Well, I was very impressed with the way in which he rotated his bowlers and brought on spin, or at a time when most of them wouldn't bring on a spin late in the innings. Particularly a part-timer.
Yeah, Glenn Phillips.
Yeah, so... Yeah,
but are we seeing a blueprint? Are we seeing the way Mitchell Santner bowled at the start? Is that probably going to get Ashwin into the Indian squad to bowl in the power play? Because even Glenn Maxwell could do that.
That's right.
And especially if you're bowling first.
Yeah, surely. And also, with Latham, he kept bowling that Rachin. Ravindra.
Really hammered. 10 overs, what?
Yeah.
1 for 76.
Perhaps he felt, I've got to make up for that bowling effort.
Yeah.
And he more than made up for it with that wonderful batting performance. But, getting back to the captaincy, he's done a tremendous job. I'm sure that the coach and, the injured captain would feel very proud of him.
Okay. About to wrap this up. I'm just going to check if we have any last-minute comments to look at. That's game 1 of this World Cup done. Yes, we have some questions. Yeah, we have one. Vikas Karmani is asking. Vikas. That Rachin Ravindra wasn't even in the playing 11 and he gets his opportunity when Lockie Ferguson gets injured. What's the kind of mindset in players? There are some players who could perhaps freeze. But what does it tell you about this kid? He's got his chance, then he goes out and bowls, picks up a wicket but gets hammered, and then goes and executes and plays fearlessly. How do New Zealand build on this kid? How do they sort of ensure that, next World Cup he's around? Because, you have situations where there's one innings and then it never comes off again.
As I said earlier, opportunity comes when you least expect it. But when it does, I reckon this guy's got enough confidence. And he's done well in the practice matches too. So it's not really a case of, I'm getting my first chance, to play with the big boys. He's done it before too. He's played, hasn't he? He's played with the team.
I think it was his 9th innings in 13 games.
There you go. So, from that point of view, he shouldn't feel too sort of isolated. He's going to bat with a mate who he bats with domestically. And now what he's done is really given a headache to the selectors in matches going forward. And I think for sure he'll play definitely the next one. Even if Williamson is available, I'm sure they'll find a spot for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we wrap this, let's quickly the one game tomorrow. Pakistan versus Netherlands. Former coach of Pakistan, Mr. Whatmore.
Yeah.
So
look, I'm expecting them to win, but I wanted to say this young kid in Netherlands, Vikramjit Singh.
Singh, yeah.
He's a tall boy, and he's improved a heck of a lot since I saw him a couple of years ago. And I'll be very interested to see how he goes. It's players like that can make a big name for themselves in these tournaments, particularly in these associate countries.
Remember their coach, Ryan Tendoshkate? Got 100, I remember 100 2011, didn't he?
Yeah, Ryan and became a very good player, captain Essex just recently in the county championship. And very good player and a terrific fella too.
But for teams like Netherlands, they've come through the qualifiers, they've come ahead of West Indies. What does it mean for them? They probably know they're not going to win every game. I remember Afghanistan last time had a very bad World Cup. But it's sort of progress, because I remember you telling me that even for Sri Lanka, they used to get hammered, and then they started winning.
Very
Once
important
you start
for
winning,
yeah.
So we shouldn't look at them and say, oh, they're here to get whipped. Because this is all part of the learning curve.
It is very important for countries like Netherlands to do well, because it has so much of a positive knock-on effect. The funding from your government, your local country's government, that can give more cash to grow the sport. You get more from the ICC. You get more invitations to come and play, which gives you more avenues for advertising and to just get the sport going. So very important. And a lot of those boys play county cricket, don't they?
Yes.
So they may not have huge numbers in terms of playing internationally, but they got a lot of...
That's hard cricket over there in England.
Yeah, they got a lot of experience playing some tough cricket, in the counties. And for that reason also, during the Northern Hemisphere summer, some of these guys are unavailable to play for their country.
Yeah, they didn't. I think 6 of them didn't play the qualifier in Zimbabwe.
So there you go, and they still qualified and beat West Indies to earn their spot in this tournament. So, I think they've got some good players, no question, but they're going to be tested big time, and they'll get good experience. And it's young guys like this Vikramjit. And maybe
Max O'Dowd is there. He scored a lot of runs here.
Yeah, he's a very aggressive, high back lift opener. They'll be looking at him also to make a contribution. But few of these younger guys could make a big name for themselves.
Okay. Can they make a name for themselves like a certain Rachin Ravindra? I think, as things stand, we got to salute the 2 stars today with the bat for New Zealand, Rachin Ravindra and Devon Conway, 150 plus. England, the world champions, are the end of an absolute shellacking. But let's not forget that this win also came about because Tom Latham marshalled his meagre resources very well, and New Zealand's bowlers actually shackled England very well. Perhaps they've shown a template of how to deflate the world champions. This is WION World of Cricket. If you liked what you've heard or seen, write to us, use the hashtag AskDav or the hashtag WION Cricket. Our segment's called No More with Whatmore. For the moment, for Dav and me, we're signing off.